What's going on, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest, your go-to YouTube channel for everything New York Knicks related. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, like the video. I do take your comments. I will respond to them. We do have a comment for today, so stay tuned for that. But first, the Knicks beat the Jazz 134-117, and honestly, a very weird and awkward game. You would hope that they would come out with some energy, assert dominance right away. They did not do that. Unfortunately, the first half was a very frustrating first half to watch. The Utah Jazz kept running this spam pick play in the corner and kept hitting threes. They shot 66% from three-point range in the first half alone, 55% from the field. The Knicks just did not come out with the energy you would want them to come out with after losing two straight in Los Angeles. And, in previous episodes this week, I talked about how it was frustrating how a Knicks team could look so great, so fantastic in Denver, looked like a team that could win the NBA Finals in Denver, and then go to Los Angeles and lay two eggs the way that they did. And you would think that coming into Utah against a team that is pretty much trying to lose, let's just be honest, the Jazz are not trying to win anything. The Jazz are tanking. The Jazz are going nowhere. The Jazz want to lose. There have been games where they have went into the fourth quarter and benched their stars. Jaren Jackson's out. Markkanen is not playing. They have no intention of winning any of these games, and yet the Knicks come out almost fully healthy. You are missing Josh Hart, but that's okay because a lot of people think that the starting lineup is better without him anyway, right? So they should have gotten off to a better start. No, they don't. They pretty much, I wouldn't say lay an egg, but have an underwhelming first half. But then the second half comes and they turn it on, especially in the fourth quarter, and especially Jordan Clarkson, who might be working his way back into the rotation here. He has a huge game here in Utah after, in my opinion, having a decent game in Los Angeles against the Lakers. When he got some playing time in Denver, he played well. He seems to be creeping back into the trust circle of Mike Brown, which I think can be a good thing. He is instant offense off the bench. That is why the Knicks brought him over here, was to have that threat off the bench. With Deuce McBride out, who knows if he comes back for the playoffs? We might need someone like Jordan Clarkson to come in and give us a boost off the bench that might help us win a game, a la campaign against the Detroit Pistons in Game 1 of last year's playoffs. Jordan Clarkson has the ability to carry an offense for an extended period of time like he did today. And not to mention, he was actually pretty good defensively as well. You have someone like Jose Alvarado who has come in and he has changed the DNA of this team from time to time, but has not played as well lately. There might be some minutes transfers there with Jose and Jordan Clarkson. I'm sure Jose is going to keep coming off the bench. I'm sure he's still going to have a role on this team, but if Jordan can continue this play going forward, I don't see how Mike Brown keeps him out of the rotation. Now, you don't expect him to drop 20-plus every game, right? I'm not expecting Jordan Clarkson to be like a sixth man of the year like he formerly was and average 15, 18, 20 points per game off the bench. This Knicks team is just not built that way, right? They have too many other players who score the basketball. He's probably not going to get the minutes. However, like I said, with Deuce McBride out, your options are Jose Alvarado, Jordan Clarkson, and in a game where maybe you need some offense, maybe you need a spark off the bench to, make a comeback, or if you can't hit a shot, Jordan might be your guy. And that's not me advocating for playing time for Jordan over Jose Alvarado. I love what Jose has brought to the team since he's been over. He's just kind of going through it a little bit right now. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Jordan Clarkson minutes going forward. He is somebody who the Knicks had high expectations, and is a reason why they gave him a contract in the offseason. Him and Gershon Yabusele, who I'm sure Knicks fans already forgot about. They were supposed to be this punch off the bench that the Knicks just didn't have last year. And this Knicks bench has been through so many different iterations of just rotations and lineups. And, Mike Brown seems to still be figuring it out. Mohamed Diawara coming off the bench. He played decent today. He's been in and out of the rotation. Shohan comes over. He was in at first. Now he's out. Clarkson was in. Then he's out. Tyler Kolek was another one. Clarkson and Kolek both hope the Knicks beat the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Cup final, and now they're out of the rotation. It is something that I hope Mike Brown nails down. It looked like there for a second they had a solid 9-man rotation, and that was one that they were going to stick with for the rest of the season. But things happen, and Jordan Clarkson is making a case for more playing time, and I wonder if that's going to be something that Mike Brown actually looks forward to, going forward, if he does call his number, especially if the Knicks cannot put the ball in the basket. All right, got a YouTube comment here. It comes from Lincoln Harden 79, and Lincoln says, all I have to say, they are making one step forward and two steps backward. Here talking about the New York Knicks. And if they would have lost today, I would have said one step forward, five step backwards. But they did win the game. They did look dominant in the fourth quarter in particular, although it was against a Utah Jazz team that is tanking. But this has been true pretty much all season, it feels like. Anytime you think the New York Knicks look like a championship contender, look like a team that can win the Eastern Conference, they disappoint you with a loss to the Pistons, or they disappoint you with a loss to the Cavs, or they disappoint you with a road trip in LA and they lose both games, right? Every time you about to crown them contenders and the best team in the East, like when they beat the Nuggets last Friday, they lay a stinker. There has been no consistency as far as beating the really good teams this year. Now, don't be wrong, it's better than last year. Last year, they couldn't beat anybody. So it is definitely better vibes, and I have more trust in this year's team than I do last year's team. And I'm not really sure how many people feel that way. You know, last year's team went to the Eastern Conference Finals. If it wasn't for a Game 1 miracle, who knows, maybe they go to the NBA Finals. I know that team probably has a soft spot for a lot of Knicks fans, but for me, I remember being very frustrated last year for their inability to beat the Celtics. You know, the Celtics were what the Pistons are this year, but so were the Cavs. They didn't beat the Thunder. They didn't beat the Lakers. No, they did beat the Lakers. Did they beat the Lakers? I don't think they beat the Lakers. They didn't beat the Clippers. They didn't beat the Warriors. You know, they beat the Detroit Pistons one time. They won in 3 against the Pistons in the regular season. So this was a team that just couldn't beat anybody last year. Now they are beating teams, right? And it's not to the extent where, you know, it's a better lookout. It's New York Knicks, but it is more consistent. They have better performances. They won the NBA Cup. They showed you that in a playoff atmosphere, they can rise to the occasion. But it is still, you know, disheartening to see the two steps backwards. It's okay to lose a game in LA, right, to the Lakers or the Clippers. It's okay to lose a game every once in a while at home. It's okay. You're going to catch L's in this league, but it's just the way that they lose. They look so uninspired, like they're not trying. The defense breaks down. Mikal Bridges doesn't score. You know, it's just like the weaknesses that everybody talks about just rear their ugly heads, and it's not a competitive loss. It's not a loss where you can walk away saying, okay, you know, they lost, but they looked good in this area, or they lost, or where I can see how people consider this team one of the better teams in the league. For instance, the loss against the Thunder. Disappointing in that loss, but if you're going to say a good loss, that's a loss where you watch the game and you're like, okay, you know, this is a team that won the NBA championship last year. We went toe-to-toe with them. We caught an L. Happens. You know, a lot of the times the Knicks lose, it's at home against the Pacers team that, you know, is starting half of their guys. You know, a Clipper team that, although they're playing well, just traded everybody away. A Laker team that's missing LeBron James. So, yeah, it is very frustrating. I wouldn't say one step forward, two steps back. It's more like 3 steps forward, 4 steps, or 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, because their steps forward look huge. When this Knicks team takes a step forward, I genuinely think that they can go to the NBA Finals and possibly win it, depending on the matchup. But when they go back, it's, all right, are we going to be another second-round exit? Who knows? But thank you for the comment. Definitely appreciate it. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment. I will be taking comments from this point on about the New York Knicks. Let me know what you think about their win in Utah, about this recent road trip, and what you expect for the rest of the year. Right now, the Knicks are a couple games behind the Boston Celtics for the 2 seed. They are a game and a half in front of the Cleveland Cavaliers for the 3 seed. Hopefully, they can get that 2 seed. I would like to stay out of, you know, that 3-6 matchup. Would like home court in the second round if the Knicks get there. I think getting that 2 seed would be very important, especially against a team like the Cavs or like the Celtics, depending on who they play. So let's look out for that. Again, subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.